Good morning. Today is Monday, 24th of November 2025, and this is papertrail.com, daily streaming all about governance, risk, and compliance in the UK for SMEs and mid-market firms. And last week, we spoke about risk treatments, which are acceptance, avoidance, transfer, and managing risk with contracts. That were our topics. And this week, we are closing this series with risk reductions. And the rest of the week, we are going to focus on incident management, which is closing the loop between risk and how you treat incidents. Today's topic is risk reductions and where day-to-day controls do the heavy lifting, right? So don't worry about acronyms. They are all over the place and explained during the streaming. And as a disclaimer, this is not a complete guide, neither a legal advice. Always look for specialists and professionals in the areas you need them, although I'll focus on reviewing three main problems today. So let's set the scenario. So what does risk reduction means? In layman's terms, it lowers the risk impact or its likelihood with controls. And for example, is add authentication controls to reduce unauthorized access, right? For example, a gate in the 4 yard, that is a risk reduction. Now, three problems with frameworks and requirements for compliance in the UK. Number one, most SMEs and mid-market firms rely on reduction controls without realizing how weak they are. So, for example, checklists without evidence, training without logs, or systems without patching records. And regulators look for working controls, not intentions. And we always say here, you have the requirements, you have the controls, and the evidence. And evidence is the most defensible position that you can have if you have an inspection or notice or anything of like that. Problem number two is a health and safety executive finds that many inspections fail because basic measures such as guarding, housekeeping, supervision, and training refreshers are out of date or incomplete. And these are predictable failures that increase fines and notices. And number three is driver and vehicle standards agency enforcement often comes down to missing daily checks, missing rectification trails, and weak maintenance logs. And in the side of the Cyber Essentials or the Cyber Essential Plus, failures often link to patching delays or unforced multi-factor authentication. So all are reduction failures. Now, as you can notice with these problems are all related to frameworks and are pretty much is very simple treatments that can be put in place just to make sure that all these things happen. And we're talking about just risk reduction here and not about the other five that we mentioned already and not the other 16 frameworks that you had to be compliant. So let me clarify what is a risk reduction again with a simple metaphor. So reduction is like tightening the bolts on a bridge, so it doesn't change the river or the weather, but it keeps the structure safe day to day, regardless of the season. Can be summer, can be spring, can be winter, and each season brings different weather conditions and different risks. Though if you have your bridge with all the bolts and requirements of maintenance, signaling, and lay all correct and updated correctly, it doesn't matter the weather. You always have reduce all the risk possible, not only for you as a provider, also for the environment, so people that use your services or your products or activities. So here are three things to consider for risk with reduction. So how to reduce your risk with reduction. So the first thing to do, and all back to the frameworks that we mentioned earlier, start with controls that regulators expect as standard. Just to mention a few, the health and safety executives expect hierarchy, information commission officers security measurements, a driver and vehicle standards agency maintenance expectations, and the National Cybersecurity Center, the cyber hygiene. So focus on the few controls that prevent most incidents. Solution number two is turn each control into something you can prove. So daily fleet checks with timestamps, signed toolbox talks, training logs, batch cycles, supervisor walkthroughs, access reviews, and incident reports. So evidence converts we do this into here's the proof or here's the evidence. And remember, as we always said, there are requirements, controls, and evidence. And the best defensible position that you can have is to provide the evidence. And solution number three, avoid this trap. Control cascade. So adding endless tasks instead of strengthening the ones that matter. And so aim for fewer controls, done better. And this is a common pitfall, running duplicate inspections across, for example, health and safety, quality, and fleet. So merge them. So avoid duplications, avoid overlaps, avoid redundancies. So as you can see, with this we are just calling risk reduction, but actually we are talking about 5 different frameworks in the UK out of the 16 that are required of any UK company. So, and this is very difficult because particularly for SMEs and mid-market companies where there are no dedicated teams, officials or personnel within the company to run these compliance requirements. So no wonder 73% of UK companies outsource and or hire consultants, advisors, or delegate to contractors. So what is the risk here? I'm talking about risk reduction. So always, as I always mention in these live streams, that you and your company should have at least a compliance baseline or at least a baseline in mind so you can hire on your own terms. So when you're looking into an advisor, consultant, and this could be, by the way, your service provider, like accounting firms or the accountants or the lawyers. So what is the outcomes? And as a number one thing that you in the baseline in terms of risk reduction, what is the outcome that they produce to you? So they score your risk, identify the highest volume controls, and show which reductions got the most exposure across plants, fleets, and service teams. So you can focus on what matters, know what is fashionable. And when I mean fashionable, I don't mean the job that they do. I mean, many times these jobs or these solutions are standardized generic solutions. They are not matching your company profile. So pretty much is putting or trying to put the round peg in the square hole. So be careful with that kind of thing. So what is the outcome that they're producing? Number two, how they differentiate. Do they provide a single control library across different frameworks like health and safety, GDPR, fleet, cyber, and sanctions? So every reduction measures is reused. Reduction measures can be reused, so then avoids overlaps and duplications. So no more rewriting training, procedures, or inspections for different frameworks like the ones that I mentioned. And this is just a few that I mentioned. And number three, how they reduce the risk for you overall. So every reduction control comes with evidence prompts like logs, tags, dates, and owners. So you can show regulators this is how we reduce risk without hunting through emails, phone calling people, binders, folders, etc., or spreadsheets. So can they provide this based on your company profile? And again, it's against your company profile. So one action that you can take today to test this is pick one routine today, a daily vehicle check, a patch cycle, a supervisor walkthrough, and turn into a recorded control with a timestamp evidence. If you cannot do this in 5 minutes like this, or find somebody that can do it in 5 minutes, probably you have a risk exposure there you may need to address. Right. But there is a faster, reliable, and easy way, which is with PaperTrail, our software. You can create an evidence-backed risk register that clearly shows which risk you accept, why, and when those decisions might be revisited across your plants, fleets, or service operations. And all of them ready to demonstrate risk and the evidence. Remember, the evidence is the most defensible position you can have in front of any inspection, audit, or regulator. So you can stop activities that increase workload, but at no value, increasing your cost and labor hour expenses in just redundant work. So this is perfect for UK SMEs and mid-market because you use the same control library for or across different frameworks, like, for example, health and safety, GDPR, DVCA, Cyber Essentials, EPR for packaging. So there's no double entry, and this helps you to reduce overlaps by 60% and costs by 80%. It's all in one place. It's a continuous gap analysis and a clear view of what's done, what is missing, and who owns the fix, or who is the accountable person or the responsible before any assurance, inspections, reports, or audits hits you. So do it once, do it properly, and move on to the things that are more important to you, which is grow your company and be more profitable. So join the waitlist to get a single evidence-ready control library that reduces risk across manufacturing fleets and services operations without doubling your workload. And stay tuned. Today, we reviewed how to manage reductions to treat risks. And tomorrow and until Friday, we'll close the loop by reviewing incident management treatments. So